going to start recording. Okay, so I'm going to angle myself down. So today we are making our slab mug. So our can is going to be the base of our mug. Our requirement is only a height requirement because the slab will just form to the cup, and that is just the width. So that is what it's going to be. All of you should have cans. They come in all about the same size unless you get those mini ones, but that would be fine as well, just as long as you have one. Mine is empty, but yours can be full if that is your choice. That doesn't really matter. It won't affect drying time, and it won't affect the mug itself. So what we are going to do to start off is we're going to get a chunk of clay. So for this, we will want a bigger chunk and plan to have it very large and then cut a lot of it off rather than have not enough clay and then have to do it again. So you're gonna need like a bigger chunk of clay. This feels like it's about 2.5 to 3 pounds, and it is about the same size as my can. So now would be the point where I am going to have you go on a little scavenger hunt around your house. So there are 2 ways to make a slab. There is one by just slamming it on the table, but one way that works better is with a rolling pin. So not all of you might have a rolling pin, but you probably have some sort of cylinder in your house. So by that, I mean, I could use my cup. It's a cylinder. I could use that to roll, but it's full, so I'm not going to do that. Just tripped on myself. You can use a spray bottle if you have it. You can use an aerosol container. You can use anything that just has a cylinder form that is about equal. So right now, I want you to go and find something that might fit that requirement. It can be small, it can be large. It just needs to be a cylinder all the way around. What we are going to do is we are going to flatten this out. Now we are going to start it off by slamming it on the table. So I'm going to mute my mic so it doesn't deafen you, but you are just literally going to slam it down on the table on the surface that you're at. When you're slamming it, you want to slam and then flip sides and then slam it down again. Okay, everybody pause for a second. So what we have now is, where is me? Where am I? There I am. It is a lot flatter than it was before. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our rolling pin type tool, and you're going to flatten it out using the rolling pin or your cylinder object. Our goal here is to make it long, because what we need to do is we need to wrap all the way around this can. So the height is okay. We want that to be about 6 inches, but if you don't get there, I do understand. We aren't in the best circumstances right now, but we need it to be long enough so that it wraps around our entire can. So if you're flattening it out and you're like, oh, this is not nearly enough clay, go back into your stash, add some more clay, and flatten it out again. When you're doing this, make sure that you're rolling and then flipping it, because once we flip it, we can see a texture on the other side. We can smooth that out later, but it will get wrinkles in it. So you need to roll and then flip it to the other side. What we are looking for is something that is long enough to wrap around our tin can, but is also the right thinness or thickness of clay. So I can see mine is still a little bit too thick. That is about 1/2 inch. We want it to be about 1/4 inch thin. We don't want it too thin, we don't want it too thick, and we also want it to be even. So we don't want a big chunk of clay on one side and then have it really thin on the other. So you need to be aware of that when you're working. If yours is looking like it's getting really wrinkly, that means that there's not a lot of moisture left in it. If you want to just dip your fingers in your bucket of water and kind of smooth the surface a little bit, add moisture back into your clay, because we don't want it to get too dry, because then it might crack. This will also help us roll it out a little bit better. After you're done rolling out, I want you to just go and find a piece of paper. This can be any piece of paper. It could be from your sketchbook. It could be a piece of copy paper. You just need one piece of paper. So I have my paper on my slab so that I have my two corners on my slab, but I have three sides where my clay goes over the paper. So I have my piece of paper laid on my slab. It's okay if it goes off the top, but I have 1, 2, 3 sides of my slab showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm just going to cut on the lines of my paper and then trim my slab that way by just tracing along my piece of paper on the three sides. So that it looks something like this. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to lift up my piece of paper . Wait 1 second. I'm going to lift up my piece of paper and I'm going to line it up with the two sides on the side, this side and this side. I'm not really going to care about this side anymore, but I'm going to line it up so that I have clay showing all the way across and it's on a straight line. So they are equal on both sides. And then I have clay showing on all sides on the other side that we ignored first. So then what I'm going to do with my needle tool is I'm going to cut on that side. And I'm going to trim off that clay. So that when I take off my paper, I have a perfect rectangle. So what I did again is I lined up my clay, my piece of paper so that it was equal on both sides again. And so that I had clay showing all on this side. And then I trimmed with my needle tool so that I had a straight line. And now I have a perfect rectangular slab. So because we are in person, I think I'm going to take away the height requirement for this project because I'm not here with you in person. If we were in person, things would be a little bit different, but we aren't. So I'm going to get rid of that requirement, but we still need to put it onto our can and attach our can. So I said you needed that and paper towels. What you're going to do is you're going to wrap your can in the paper towels. So put something like this. Okay, so you have your can wrapped in paper towels. What we're going to do is we are going to roll up our can. So I'm placing it on one end of my slab, and I am just going to, I placed it so that the end of my can is equal to the edge of my slab on one side. And then I'm going to roll. And I'm going to roll until my slab meets itself again. So I lined my can up with the end of my slab. So it's equal there, and it's right there. And I rolled my can and my slab until it met itself again. What I'm going to do now is with my needle tool, I'm going to cut right about where they meet so I don't have any extra clay on the end. And it looks something like this. After you have that, where your slabs meet, we are going to cut a diagonal line. So I have one diagonal going one way and another diagonal going another way so that it creates a triangular shape right here. What I'm going to do now with my needle tool is I'm going to cut as equally as I can down that diagonal. So I'm just going to put my needle tool on that line that I made and I'm going to pull down to create a diagonal line. And this part, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be opposite diagonals. So I have one going one way and I have another diagonal going the other way. And I just use my needle tool to trim on that diagonal. So it looks something like this. I had one diagonal going this way and another going this way. And I took my needle tool and I trimmed all the way down. Like that. After you've gotten that done, what you're going to do is you're going to slip and score. So you're going to score both sides of the diagonal cut. You're going to slip them and smooth them together. It doesn't matter as much what it looks like on the inside. We can always go back in and smooth that out a little bit later. But we want it to be nice and smooth on the outside. So I scored. I'm going to apply slip to one side of my diagonal cut. And then I'm going to combine them. If yours is not combining perfectly and there's too big of a space, you can always make a coil and you can connect them using a coil. Or if you are done and you think, oh, it's really thin here, you can always patch it. If yours is overlapping, then you can always just cut off a little bit more clay. So then it looks something like this. We have our can on the inside. And a cylinder made out of a slab. So if you did not get to the slipping and scoring part of this, that's fine. Just make sure that your slab is wrapped all the way around your project. And then you're going to put it inside of a plastic bag and secure it on top. And then you can slip and score tomorrow. And there you have it. Boom.